Perfect. Perfect. All right, and we are live. All right, so we are here with Sean Hibbeler of Hibbeler Productions with the "It's Not What You Think" podcast. It's my first podcast back since I took all that time off to write that book, and now that's off my chest. I promised myself I'd get back to it, and I just got done finishing watching Old World Order with my wife, and that's Sean's newest movie. And take it away, Sean. Tell us, what is Old World Order, man?
Oh, okay. Thanks for having me on the show. Hello to your wonderful audience. Old World Order is kind of the way I make films, man, it's not for the ones that know, it's for the ones that don't. So if you already know about the old world, and if you want to call it Tartaria, that's just one piece of a big pie. But most people know it as Tartaria or something. That's kind of false to me. But regardless, that's kind of the key word that would spark their brain. Like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. Well, if you don't know much about it, that's why I made this film. Is because there's so much ground to cover, from giants to the fake construction photos that they've lied to us about, that they built these buildings, especially with the timelines they give us. They give us timelines of 1-2 years, and it takes us in modern day with skilled architects that went to school for 20 years. It takes them 5 years to make a Dunkin' Donuts, for God's sake. So it's just one of these things where it's kind of gets hilarious. The timelines they give us from the 1800s, where they're on horses and buggy, whipping up these stone and marble castles in no time, no big deal. And then we hear the story that, well, who actually did this? Like, who were these skilled architects? No, they weren't. And they actually admit in Rockefeller history that these were slaves. So now you're talking about a whole nother, lane of deception, because you got to take in consideration these guys have no prior knowledge of building homes, but yet they're whipping up these luxurious European looking castles. And then when you look at the castles in Europe, they want to give that the 904 AD and like these old timelines, so we can't hold anyone accountable. There was no videos, there was no photos back then. We just have to take the Rockefeller word for the storyline and how long ago these people made it. There's no explanation of how they made them in Europe and Germany and all these huge buildings. Just, it's so long ago, just out of sight, out of mind. But in America, we were founded in the late 1700s, right? So there better be explanations, and their explanation is, yeah, a bunch of slaves threw it together in a couple years. Whatever. We got some construction photos, and then when you start looking into those construction photos, you go, wait a minute, there's something off here. So I kind of put Old Order together for the masses, for your cousin, your neighbor, whoever that's like, you might want to try to wake someone up to the old world and they're confused, or they just don't buy it, or they're just, they're stuck in their ways with believing Rockefeller history. Why would they lie and all this stuff? And it's kind of like, no, that's why I made this film. So, and that's how I make all my films. I make all my films for the ones that don't know. The only negative feedback I've ever gotten from any film I've ever made is from the ones that already know. They're like, well, especially with Level, my first film, on the earth. I mean, like the ones that already know are like, well, we didn't really learn anything from this. I'm like, dude, I didn't make it for you. I'm like, I didn't make it for you. I made it for the ones that don't know, because that's the most important thing to me, is waking up the people that don't know. If you already know, then keep on chucking, man. Keep on driving that truck, man. But it's when someone's trying to wake someone up, it's hard, man. It's hard just to converse with your cousin or your friend or something. They don't want to believe you. They're not going to change their ways because of your words. A lot of people have ego and pride, and your buddy, especially. I have friends. I mean, they're kind of waking up now, but it's taken 10 freaking years. So it's one of these things where they don't want to hear from you. They just don't. They're not going to believe you. They're not going to think that you know more than their school teachers and the college professors and the scientists and all these people. Who are you? But when they can watch a film that breaks it down, where you're like, wait a minute, hold on, I can't debunk that. Like, whoa, what's going on here? This is how I make the film. So Old Order is one of those where you're going to have to probably hit pause and go verify it. And I love doing that in the films, where people are blown away, like, no way is that true. I always go, okay, hit pause and look it up. I'm not going to lie to you. and they look it up and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, maybe stop pausing now. I'm not going to sit here and put a bunch of lies together in a film. That's the opposite of my job on this earth. My job's to make films to wake people up, not lie. That's what Hollywood's done to all of us. So I'm not going to repeat those repeat that process at all. I'm going to give my truth and the truth that's been verified multiple times, and I'm very picky. I'm very picky, John, with what I put in to a film. A lot of stuff I don't put in because it's kind of like, man, it's really, really, really speculation. I think the only time I put speculation in is if it's backed by receipts, it's backed by red flags where it's like, yeah, we are speculating now, but at the same time, look at all this surrounding this speculation. Now the speculation becomes probable to me and I'll show it, but I tried my hardest to never show speculations. I just want facts out there so people can kind of put it together for themselves. And then if they're interested in this rabbit hole, this is a great intro for that. This is why I made it. So, and did you enjoy the film? Did you learn anything from the film, or did you know all this stuff?
Oh, it was a complete review for me, but I definitely been using it lately to try to wake people up to something that I've been talking about for many years. And you know, the one thing that's, really crazy is that I share the July 8th birthday with John Rockefeller. You know what I mean? Like, and my football number was 7 on the front, 7 on the back. So it's so crazy how
My
all
favorite
this,
number.
yeah. And my thing was, I found this mass ritual that happened at 9/11, and realized that there's something going on with this number. So I tracked it, and like there's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't put in the book until I found the real source for, to make sure that I could put that picture in the book to show that, hey, I'm not making this up. Like, this is right here. This is history. This is them putting this little number everywhere they go. And I love the old world buildings, and I'm a construction supervisor. So one thing I know for sure is that they didn't do so much of this stuff with horse and buggy when, we can't move these cornerstones with anything that we have now. And the whole Mormon story is the worst one, the big castle that's in, Salt Lake City. I
Yeah,
mean,
Utah.
with
Yeah.
the number of people that they say came over, and then they brought these oxen, had to go from an hour drive away to pull these things. And the accounts that it was like the glory of God made the oxen just strong enough to pull it. It's just like it's all bullshit.
It
You know what
sounds
I
as
mean?
dumb as a cow tipping over a candle and it burned down the whole city of Chicago. Like, if you want to believe that, sure. If you want to believe what they teach us in school, sure. But I think a lot of us nowadays are waking up to the lies and deceit of everything in history. Everything we've been taught is almost the opposite. So, there's a reason that they only teach the Chicago Great Fire, right? Now it should be in the new history books, it should be the California Great Fire, but it's
Well, it should
only.
be the great fire of all, the great fire of the world, because, I mean, they have one of these every, going back. This is how they got rid of all the history. They always have a great fire that no one ever knew about until you start tracking them like you did. And that's pretty
Well,
wild.
yeah, I mean, anyone watching this right now, no matter what town you live in, especially the big cities, wherever you buy, if you're in a little town in Arkansas, I mean, look up Little Rock. If you're in a little town in Missouri watching this, look up St. Louis. Every single major city, if not every city, technically, had a great fire.
Detroit.
It was burned down.
I'm in Detroit, by Detroit. So,
The Detroit had a big one. That's the
yeah.
point, though. That's the point I'm trying to make, though, is that as far as I know, I talked to a lot of people when I was making this film, even the people in the film. I asked, hey, you went to public school in America, obviously. What did you get taught? What kind of great fires were they teaching you in school? And they all said Chicago. So why the fuck? Can I swear? Sorry. Why
Yeah.
the frick can't? Why the
Yeah. I don't
frick?
give a fuck.
I'm just saying, why would they teach? I'm just going to pick on St. Louis because it's right by Chicago. I grew up in Chicago. I was there for 30 years. So that's all I knew. It was a great Chicago fire. Little did I know that, my neighbor in the neighboring state of St. Louis was also taught the Chicago Great Fire in school. And I'm like, wait a minute. But St. Louis had a big, almost a bigger one. So why wouldn't St. Louis teach St. Louis public school about their own fire? Why wouldn't Detroit public schools teach their students about the fire in Detroit? And so you can go Atlanta, you can go anywhere, San Francisco, you can go anywhere, and they should be teaching their students about their own fire. Why? Because people like me, people like you, and others by now, or maybe a long time ago, would have already discussed this. Like, hey man, where'd you go to school? Oh, I went to school in Atlanta. I went to school in Little Rock, and now I went to school here. Did you know about our great fire? Wait, we had one too. Wait, we had one too. So we'd all would discuss this and possibly put our minds together and go, wait, was the whole country burned down? What the hell's going on? But no, see, they teach everybody unanimously the Chicago Great Fire, and that's it. So we're taught as kids the Chicago Fire. And Matthew Smith, who's an architect who was in Old World Order, who's actually going through cancer, so say a prayer for him. He's battling a lot of shit right now. But I had him right before his surgery so he can do the film. He was holding on to this cancer situation just to do this film. So big props to him. But Matthew told me, he grew up in Seattle, public school, and they never once heard about the Seattle's huge. They had multiple fires in the 1800s and early 1900s. Never knew. Imagine being an architect as a grown man, living in the same city your whole life, and finding out on your own that the city burned down back in the day. And you're like, wait a minute, how did we never know this about our own city? Then he started putting, pieces together and figuring out, oh my God, they lied. I mean, every single city was burned to the ground. And when you actually look at it from a perspective of science and you go, wait a minute, hold on, these are stone and marble buildings now. You can't just blame it on a forest fire or a cow tipping over a candle or a cigarette. All these little stories are hilarious, how the great fire of your city started. It's always something hilarious.
I think they're really to mock us, to get us to, because they think we're so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
They want to see what we will swallow and regurgitate and push. And, once they see people fighting for, the dumbest story and trying to push that, they're just laughing at their little robed hooded parties. You know what I mean? Talking about, oh, that was a good one. Whoever came up with that was great. Who was that? Oh, that was Elon.
Pretty much, man. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
It becomes hilarious because, who was it? I was on some show where it's like a kid. He's got like crazy hair and all he does is like make fun of the guest. I forgot his name.
I saw that. I think Sam was on that show too,
Sam,
right?
yes. So I don't know the kid's name, but Sam
I don't know
on the show.
But yeah, he thinks he's so clever. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Bro, I didn't even know what I was walking into. All I know is that he's like, I want a flat earther on my show. And I guess his audience was like, get Hibbeler on there. And I don't even know who this kid is. I've seen him on TikTok and stuff, but I was like, whatever. And I was in Cali at the time. So I was like, yeah, I'll stop by, man. I'll talk about the truth of any rabbit hole with anyone in any given time. I don't care how big they are, how small they are. It doesn't matter to me. I just wanted the truth out there. So I went to his show not knowing he was like a bull rat type of character, and he's just sitting there trying to make fun of me the whole time. But the point of me bringing this up is someone on TikTok uploaded a clip of me from his show. It was just a 1-minute clip of me talking about the great fires. And of course, the whole time I'm talking, he's looking at me and going like this in the camera and trying to act like I'm retarded and everything. But that didn't work because, I mean, there was millions of views on this video. I don't know even what channel uploaded it. If I uploaded it, it'd be shadow banned. But these no-namers on Instagram or TikTok or even YouTube can blow up a video without any censorship because they're nobody. They got 5 subscribers. So this TikTok video had millions of views and almost 100,000 comments. And I'm reading these comments, bro. I'm literally seeing people wake up just to this 1-minute clip of me saying, and I'm literally directing them in the video, on that video. I'm looking into the camera because by then I knew this guy was trolling the whole time. I'm like, this is not a serious show at all. So I'm just going to take the microphone and look into the camera and say, listen, I don't care what this dude's doing in the background. If you're watching this, you think I'm crazy, look up your city. Right now, you hear me speaking, look up your city, type in your city and type in Great Fire, and you will see that your fire was burned down in the 1800s or 1900s. It was burned down to the ground. Look it up right now. I'm looking at these comments. Everybody's like, oh my God, I never knew Cincinnati. Oh my God, I live in Atlanta for 50 years. I had no idea. Paragraphs are coming in nonstop. I'm reading all these comments. I couldn't even sleep that night just reading all these comments. Of course, 1 out of 1,000 are like, this guy's an idiot. But at the same, at the same time,
we'll take those.
I don't mind that. Those are paid trolls. That's fine.
Yeah,
right?
Love it.
Like Fit is Flat Earther, this guy on TikTok. He's an agent. He's a paid. Like we looked him up. He's an agent. He works for an agency. He's a paid troll. But yet he's got all these truthers following him. You're going down the wrong avenue. You got to know who you're following and know who these people are and how they come out of nowhere with millions of views. Like this doesn't work in the truth community, buddy. But anyways. So I'm reading these comments and I'm so proud. Like that was the first moment in all my life as a filmmaker. Well, no, 10 years as a filmmaker, but in all my life, that was like one of my proudest moments in this game. You know what I mean? Like, cause I'm like, everybody did what I said. And they looked up their own city and they what? Wait, hold on. And I got people in these comments saying they verified with their grandma, called this person, called it. Yeah, it's legit. Like your city burned down. Why weren't you taught it? For what I said earlier, cross-referencing, everybody talking and going, I didn't know your city was burned down. Your city was burned down. So it's a way to control the masses by teaching one fire to everyone and then shutting up and moving on and, go ahead and go to your algebra class and go to your geography class and go to your art class and PE and just forget about it. I mean, this is why I think they really do make public school boring, lame, homework, just this whole strategy of it all, because we don't like school, Now, yeah, you're going to have your typical nerds here and there that I can't wait for the project to turn in tomorrow. I get that. But most of us, and I think I speak for most of us, man, no one liked school. No one liked like waking up in the morning, going to school and shit, and then someone like, today in the class, like they to me, that's on purpose. They want us all to hate it. They want us all to get the fuck out of it and move on and not even think about what we just went through, this indoctrination camps. They don't even want us to think about it. They don't want us to and when I woke up to the reality of where we live in 2014, 2015, the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm not trying to shift focus to the earth, but the thing that was on my mind at that time was, I never once questioned where I live, and at that time what was it, 2015, I was probably around late 20s, early 30s. And I'm just sitting here like, I never once in my life, as a grown man or as a teenager or as anything, especially outside of school, never once did I even think about a globe. I never thought about like we're moving around the sun and everything we're taught, right, in kindergarten and all this shit. I never thought about it. You're taught something, no matter what it is, or history, it doesn't matter. You're taught something. You're already annoyed that you're in class. You're already annoyed you got homework tomorrow. You hate all this stuff, but yet you're trying to pass, right? So you're regurgitating this stuff to try to make, just make
to be the best regurgitator,
make your parents not ground you, right? So like you're just trying for that. If your parents were like, I don't care if you get Fs, I think a lot of us will get Fs. So it's one of these things where like you have to care because of your parents and discipline or whatever. So it's like, you try and you get a C and you're like, whatever, hope I'm not in trouble. But you never really question it outside of school. You don't go back and what we all know, 1 + 1 is 2. So we kind of put everything into that category bucket as fact because the teachers taught it to us. It's got to be fact. But once you become an adult and you have an open mind and a critical thinking mind, not all of us do. Everyone that got their booster definitely doesn't have a critical thinking mind. And that's a lot of the world. So it's sad, but it's true.
Probably about 80%. Probably about 80%, I'd say.
I think it's way lower, man. I think mainstream numbers are to make us feel defeated. The people like us, I think it was a swing and a miss for them. I think they wanted a lot more jabs and arms, you know.
My
And
mom,
Bill Gates said it himself, man. Bill Gates said it the best when they asked Bill Gates, you know, did this work? Basically the whole event of the pandemic, and he said no. He said it's too late. It's just too late. It's too late. There's nothing they can do now. They can't even have another pandemic. They've tried. They've tried multiple times since Omicron and Delta and all this. Nothing worked outside of the COVID thing that initially worked for a lot of the world. Nothing else has worked, and they've tried with this bird flu now. It's never going to work again, and I think they know that, so they're going to start going in different directions to try to get fear going. I think a pandemic it's ran its course, and I think it's because of their laziness. I think it's because the truth is here, and I think it's because that the consciousness is shifting, and people want the truth. Even your neighbor that's in the closet about a lot of these rabbit holes, deep down they want the truth. They feel it. They feel something's different, and the truth is coming, man. Whether it be chemtrails or it doesn't matter the topic. Like people know, like more people know than you could fathom. It's just a lot of people are closeted, and that's my job to uncloset them. Hey, sit down, watch this film. Wake up and just know that you're not alone. It's different when you think you're going to be alone in this and you're going to be ridiculed and made fun of. But little do you know, half your family's already in on this. Half your family already knows it, but they're all closeted too. They don't want to be the first to mention it at Thanksgiving dinner. You know, they don't want to say something. But until we start speaking to one another and logically trying to come to conclusions of what the truth is, you know, who knows, man? I tell people all the time, talk to your family, talk to your friends. You don't know who knows what and who researches what. Too many people are scared. They just want to keep their feelings to themselves. They don't want to break that barrier to stand out or be the black sheep, you know. And there's probably multiple black sheeps in every family. It's just you got to talk. That's what it is.
let me ask you this. How many people do you think took the first shot at least? Because I think about 80% probably did.
I would go as high as 75. Yeah, I could see 80, but I go 60, 70%, 75%. I think by that second shot, it went down to about 40, in my opinion. And everything after that was really for the ones that, you know, they're still wearing masks.
They're still driving around wearing masks in their car.
Walking their dog with their mask on. Like
in their convertible.
Kids, man. There's nothing we can do about them. There's none. I gave up on them. Like, call me what you want. But the ones that are probably still wearing a fucking mask, like I have no energy for you anymore. I don't call me a dick, but you don't deserve to be here anymore. You've wasted all of our time. You're making everything harder for us to save this world and save humanity and save the future of the youth. You are the one that's still wearing a mask, the one that's waiting for the next booster. They're the problem. It's not even the government to me. The government's just in control right now. They're not going to be in control forever. But you know, God's in control. That's number one to me, and that will be foreseen very soon, in my opinion. So the ones that are still, you know, bending over for Rockefeller, bending over for the government, for the media, listening to yes sir, no sir, anything that fucking tube says in front of them, that's that flickering thing that says today in the news, like, oh my God, shh. You gotta listen. Like, they don't again, someone could listen to me like, well, fuck you, that's how my grandma is, or fuck you, that's how my dad is. It's like, look, man, like, I'm about saving the world. Like, they're in the way. If they could wake up, which we all know is impossible, we all know people in our lives, you're never gonna wake them up. No matter what you do, no matter what you say.
They refuse to even look at evidence.
Correct. Yeah, they're in denial, man. They're completely conditioned. Or they're just a different breed of human, man. There's something else going on spiritually with them. There's something else going on. Maybe they came from a fucking lab. I don't know. I just don't know, man. It gets so confusing to me because I could sit there and talk to anyone about truth. And once for me, the starting point for me with anyone ever, whether I'm in an Uber or whether I'm on an airplane, if I'm by somebody, I'm talking. Like, we're talking. I'm trying to help you. If I got 30 minutes in an Uber or 7 hours in a plane, we're talking, because this is my job on earth. So I'm not going to be quiet. I mean, I might piss you off or offend you if you're sitting next to me on a plane. Sorry, but you're going to hear some shit today, whether you wanted to or not. But I always start with the moon landing. So if someone looks at me and goes, "Oh yeah, the moon landing, of course it was real," I'm yeah, like we're not talking like that's a silent airplane for me, man. There's just no point. Like for me, there's no point. There really is. Eddie Bravo always says that too. We really do agree with that statement. If you think the moon landing was real, I, man,
It's a
maybe
pretty good
you'll
litmus
get it in
test.
another lifetime. Maybe another lifetime you'll get it, man. But there's no reason. I'm not wasting my energy. No way.
Yeah, it's a pretty good litmus test, I'd say, to see, where someone's at. Because if you believe that bullshit, then you still believe so much other bullshit, and
Oh,
it's pretty crazy. Let me ask you this, and
yeah.
because we can get back to old buildings.
Sure.
I'm thinking about writing my next book on, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and I tossed around the idea of what I would do first, and I ended up doing the 77 trust fund dorks first, but um, what do you, I have like about 800 pictures on my phone of mountains that look like melted brick buildings, right? And I saw you at the end of Old World Order. You touched on that. Um,
Because it's speculation. Let's just be real. It is. I mean, it
yeah,
looks
it is speculation, but also
probable.
coming from construction, and listening to time and money and everything the architects say that I've talked to, the engineers that I've talked to. Um, it doesn't make a lot of sense for anyone to be building that way, carving into mountains, building a chimney on top of a mountain that one side of it's brick, the top of it, and then it seems like it's melted in the middle. That just doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of things that don't make any sense. So you look at the evidence, and it does, in my opinion, kind of illustrate some sort of direct energy weapon. And
Yeah.
is this the same ancient weapon that this is why they let us have guns in the first place, because they know that they can just wipe us out and reset us at any time? Because I mean, or is this something that they lost and now they're developing a new version, and this is what they're starting all these fires with? That's clearly some sort of direct energy weapon, trust fund dork fuckery. What is your take on it? Is it the same weapon that the robber barons have been holding on to for so long, or is this new technology and they're just trying to rebrand something that they did a long time ago when they reset us the last time?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I truly think there's nothing new under the sun, and it's just reverse engineering of ancient technology. I think that they found direct energy weapons back then. From my research, again, it's speculation, but it's still I researched the shit out of this.
As
They would
well,
have
yes, me.
these. They would have these lasers, if you want to call them, the direct energy weapons. I mean, they would put them on the airships, and there's no other way. I mean, like for me, I know it's speculation because I wasn't there. I have no proof of this, all this. But when you go back to the basics of all of these stone and marble buildings that have been completely wiped off the face of the earth, especially in Chicago, again, I just speak from knowing these types of buildings. Like in the film, we went to me and my lunch break, Kenny Loden. We went to inside of the Chicago Museum, was the Science and Industry or Art Museum, one or the other, and or Field Museum, sorry. And the security guard there was pretty much a third degree whistleblower in my mind, because he's telling us stories about a guy that was there for 45 years talking about underground tunnels all connecting the old world buildings, that building we were in. Like when you walk in, pretty much if you see an old stone masonry building with marble and beautiful, think about how you're getting into that building. I guarantee you're walking up new stairs just to get into the building to get your ticket, right? Like, why aren't you just walking directly into that building? Well, it's because you're on the 5th floor. By the time you even walk into the building to pay your ticket fee, you're probably on the 3rd, 4th, 5th floor. Man, that thing goes all the way underground. And this guy pretty much was talking to us about doing maintenance sweeps, and he's got to go all the way to the bottom, and he can hear the water from the ocean. I'm sorry, not the ocean in Chicago, the lake. He can hear the water hitting the walls and all that stuff. Yeah, because we're literally walking on top of giants. I mean, I'm sorry, on top of ancient buildings. We're walking. I think, and I'm weird with this, man. I think that's what earthquakes really are. Is these buildings moving underground, and or they're doing it on purpose. But back to the direct energy weapons. Direct energy weapons. There's nothing else that could torch and destroy all these stone masonry and marble buildings of our past besides those. I like they a lot of the, like the Great Fire of Chicago, they blame it on a cow tipping over a candle, and the candle burned one house and then it burned the next house, and then
It's so funny to me.
the entire city is burned down. But people forget that the entire city back then was stone and marble structures, these old world buildings. Well, the temperature of a fire can't burn those. I mean, why do you think your fireplace is stone or brick, right? Or something very solid, because it doesn't burn. It won't burn your house down. You can't have a normal fire, whether it be from a candle, whether it be from a forest fire. It doesn't matter. You can't have that burning down stone and bricks. It won't burn down. So how did they burn down all the buildings of our past without direct energy weapons? And now you go to the present, you look at California, I mean, not only paradise, but LA now, and you look in Maui, Hawaii. This is why I even had BJ Penn in the film, was because he was a Hawaiian. I want some authenticity. I don't want just someone else that lives in Seattle talking about Hawaii and talking about direct energy weapons. It's like, no, BJ Penn lives there. He knows what the fuck's going on. He's sick of it. He wants to be in this film. I'm going to put him in the film. He might not be the expert on the old world buildings. He might not have much to say, but he knew about Maui. So I needed to incorporate Maui into this film with direct energy weapons. No better person in my book than BJ Penn to go off on it. So, like, when I was in Hawaii, I could tell, man, I talked to a lot of the residents out there, all BJ Penn's, all his homies and everything. And we had a lot of conversations. I was there for many days. And I don't think anyone in Hawaii thinks that it was a natural forest fire that tore Maui apart. It just logically makes no sense whatsoever. And Maui actually had, like Lahaina, had like some of the most old world buildings left in all of Hawaii. Lahaina had some of the most ancient buildings there. And this is how they burn them down, in my opinion, is they go... I mean, I'm sure there could be some foul play on the ground. I'm not going to call that off. Like, no one would help. There's not agents on the ground doing something to enhance it. Sure, of course.
Well, to touch on that point real quick, I remember seeing a TikTok, and this was never on the news. Of course, they won't show this old guy on the news, but this old guy, he was walking by all the cars that were like stopped, and he was talking to the cop, and he's like, you need to let these cars go. And the cop was like, I have orders to hold these people here. He's like, listen, young man, you have to let these people by. They're going to get killed. And he's like, I got to hold them here. And then he walked by and he said, just not 2, 3, 4 minutes later, they all fucking exploded.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I made a short film on this exact thing you're talking about, mixed with direct energy weapons, mixed with Maui. Once the fires in Maui came out, I made a short film. It's called Maui in 15. So it's 15 minutes long. You can go to my website and get it if you want. It's also free on, like, my website's just donation. So you can just download it for a small, like, $2 donation. Or just go to my YouTube channel and watch it on there. It's called Maui in 15. I explain all that. So, I just want your audience to know that, like, this is all explained. And even though that old guy doesn't know what we know in terms of the speculation of direct energy weapons, he's kind of explaining a lot of stuff without even knowing. Right. And I look at present day with California. There's just no way, man. There's no way that that someone's going to convince me that someone in the sky is not doing something, because you just can't do that from a forest fire. Forest fires, doesn't matter how windy they are, they're not going to take out all these homes in a row perfectly. But yet one mansion, I bet you, I don't know if you know this yet, John, there's one mansion in the middle of that whole palace. I don't even know how to say the name of the city in LA, Palisades or whatever. So there's one mansion just sitting in the middle of it all that's untouched completely. Do you know whose mansion that is? If you even knew that to begin with?
No, I don't really want. I just train, read. I'm just stay busy. I don't watch the news at all.
You want to know whose mansion's untouched?
Who's?
Did you know? Wait. First, did you know whose mansion was untouched in Maui?
Well, I know there was like Oprah, right?
Oprah. Okay, perfect. So, do you know who? I'll tell you. I'll leave the suspense out. It was Tom Hanks. So, Tom Hanks, Oprah's buddy, and their little trafficking ring that they do. Tom Hanks just so happens, my mansion's fine. No big deal. So, again, the truth is in plain sight, man. I mean, if every single home is just completely burned to the ground, but yet you look at California right now and these trees are still there. It's like, how are the houses gone, but the trees are there? That should be flipped. It should be all the trees are burned down because it's a forest fire. So the trees should be burning, singed, completely fucked up. And some cars should be okay. Some homes should be half damaged. Some homes should be not damaged. Some homes should just have the roof burned down. No, the home is gone. I mean, completely disintegrated, surrounding themselves with trees that are upright and green. I like if you
And the
don't
cars
see
are
it,
melted. The
yeah,
cars
the
are
cars
melted.
are melted, is aluminum melted. It's just liquid, and it's like, it reminds me of 9/11. Now I kind of go back because I have my views on 9/11, but it's opening up those floodgates for me with, okay, they were using these with 9/11. And I'm not saying that maybe building 7 was direct energy weaponized or something, but no matter what, with controlled demolition, the whole thing was set up, period. So, and
Well,
no, it was not a guy in a cave in Afghanistan. It was clearly Israel, but that's another topic.
well, you know about the mass 77 ritual at 9/11, right?
I've heard of it, but refresh my memory.
Okay, so this is what my book's all about, and in my opinion, this is a good way to also wake people up because you can use stats and statistics to make them realize that this is impossible. So just real quick, and this is not to take the shine and put it on, my discovery away from yours or anything, because
No, I'm
yeah,
all about discoveries.
so 9/11 as a match ritual is the Pentagon was a pentagram built on the 77th longitude on
Oh
September
wow.
11th, 1941. So on September 11th, 1941 was when they had the ceremony. And that was the 77th Congress that built the Pentagon 77 feet high on the 77 longitude, and it had 77 5,500 windows.
That's
Exactly
just a coincidence, bro.
exactly 60 years later, what flight do they tell us hit the Pentagon? Flight
77.
77, which was in the air for exactly how many minutes? 77 minutes. And
Sounds like a
then
well-plotted script because there wasn't even an airplane hijack. But again, that's another
when
story.
we get it when we get attacked by a country and it's by the Pentagon, there's a mobile Pentagon, and it's called the Doomsday Plane, and it's the E4B Advanced Airborne Command Post, and on that day its call sign was Venus 77, and Venus is represented esoterically by a seven-sided star.
Of
The
course.
World Trade Center, the World Trade Center was hit on the 77th floor by United Flight 175. All right. How many total victims minus the hijackers we know weren't even real? There was 2977 innocent victims, they tell you.
Yeah,
Now
29.
whether those
Nine
yeah,
nine minus 2.
2977. How many first responders do they tell us died? 343. That's 7 times 7 times 7, right?
Yeah, but
George
they
Bush
got the
Sr.
numerology. That comes from their worship of Saturn. They have to do the numerology stuff. They're the
Right.
experts in that. Yeah.
And my book is all about how Alice they're following Aleister Crowley's rebranding of these fallen angel entities, and they're just rebranding Semyaza as 77 and Saturn as 77, and insert your civilization's fallen angel name, whatever. It's all the same flood, all the same giants, all the same buildings, all the same star forts, all the same architecture, all the same dragons, all the same flood. It's
And
all the
speaking of
same
giants,
stories.
you've researched giants. You know that they actually existed, right? They're not like
For sure, 100%. Yeah. And we're
and I
not talking
this is why
basketball
I think
players. Yeah, we're
this
talking
now
9, 10 foot giants.
now well, I think they're midgets from the Giants back in the day, but
Yeah.
the Lord Jamar, the rapper from Brand Nubian, people are like, "Why'd you put a rapper in Old World Order?" I'm like, "Well, number one, that's my boy, but number two, Lord Jamar has a lot of information. He's a very smart guy. He's a different type of person. He's one that researches like us. He's one that doesn't trust the mainstream. So I felt like maybe the black community can finally wake up to this topic if they saw someone like that in the film. Because the black community needs to wake up to a lot of topics, in my opinion. They're the most indoctrinated against their will. I'm not saying it's their fault, but we need them, man. We need everybody on board with the truth. So Lord Jamar
1000%.
was touching on the dinosaurs in the film because it's true, and I'm glad he said that in the film because I completely agree. This is exactly why I put it in the film is because in the call it the early just to make it easier early 1900s. You move into a house in America, you're under this indoctrination. The schools are starting in the 1920s, Board of Education. And just say you go in your backyard and you're digging something up and you see a big ass bone, right? Well, whoa, look at this bone. They don't know what it is. So this is when the Smithsonian Institute really kind of started. That was kind of their point of starting was to come to your house in like a Men in Black style. And these people would show up and say, yeah, we heard, you made the call, you got a bone. Oh, this is a femur of a dinosaur. This is when dinosaurs really were taken off, was the merge of this concept of people finding these giant bones. These are giant femurs, giant legs, everything. But they would just take them and go, hey, well, dinosaurs is a brand new thing, in my opinion, in the late 1800s. So they're just blaming everything on dinosaur bones. Dinosaur bones. Don't ask questions. Don't measure it. Don't do your own sampling. Give it to us. We're the government. We're going to take it and we're going to throw them in the ocean. The Smithsonian would completely complain. There's so many newspaper articles. Anyone can go look these up of them not knowing what to do with the giant bones. There's so many giant bones being found that they had to just take them all. And they were dumping a lot of them in the ocean because there were so many found back then. And this is why they transferred everything into dinosaurs, right? Because we all know that if you look, at least, the Big Bang Theory was, the 1923, I think, around there is when the Big Bang Theory was first
I don't
spoken.
know. That right away, that sounded so dumb to me, even in school. Like, I just remember, it's like, that just doesn't sound, it just sounds so dumb. But this is my favorite discovery out of all of them. Did you watch Sam's recent Joe Rogan episode?
I can't. I mean, I can only watch. I can only watch so much Joe, but I
I
did.
I'm with you. I'm with
I,
you on that. But it was Sam. Did you watch? Did
I
you
know. I
watch it?
did. I did watch most. I would say I watched most of it for
Okay,
sure.
there was a part where he goes, Sam, we know we know dinosaurs are real. Freaking, there was a bunch of iridium. And I was like, soon as I heard that, I had been telling Sam that was Sam's chance to just go to town on the 77. Guess what? The periodic table, iridium, the atomic number is 77. And that's the proof that proves dinosaurs were killed by asteroids. That's my favorite one,
Yeah.
Sean. My
Yeah.
favorite one.
Well, it's a good
It's
point.
got it's right there in the dinosaur narrative. 77. It's in everything. Everything. Every movie, every public act, every freaking, this is them worshiping this fuckery. And just
Yeah.
like Sean's been telling you through NASA, I mean, I try to talk about NASA with people, but it's so much of an uphill battle that it's just I just don't even bother if they're not willing to look
Well,
at one
dude,
of you.
there's no. Listen, if someone's
I
gonna open
send them
my
your movie. I send them your movie. I go, have you watched it yet? If they haven't, by the time that I've seen them again, it's just I'm not doing it.
because they're in denial. They listen, man. No kid wants their ball taken away from them. It's just it's the nature of who we are as human beings. If you're taught something at 6 years old, and you're not. I mean, think about high school. when your critical mind actually starts to kind of kick in, I would say, right around that age, 14, 15, we start using our mind. We start, we have deans and we suspensions. It's more prominent in high school now. It's because the human being is their mind's growing, but they're in this indoctrination camp to keep you down, to keep you docile, stupid, believing lies so often that you don't really want to raise your hand and question anything that's being taught in the room, because now you're going to be suspended or whatever. But for me, it's like this high school mindset of like, now we're starting to critically think, but they don't talk about where you live in high school. See, again, this goes back to, when you walk into kindergarten, they shove a giant ball in your face and they say, look, you live here. Don't ask questions. This is where you live. Just do your homework. And one of the first things they give you is a solar system, and you have to fill in they make it as easy as possible for you to get the right answers as a child. You feel good. You go home, you got a B or an A on bullshit though. But you stick with that. So the person that doesn't want to open their mind up to NASA as a complete government entity, fraudulent company that's been lying to you since day one, it's because of all they have in their mind is, well, that's my childhood, right? Like you're telling me, it's kind of like Santa for adults, right? I always say the globe is Santa for adults because you're taught the same age Santa Claus. I mean, like, I don't know, everyone's parents are different. My mom definitely didn't tell us. There was no Santa for me growing up, for sure. She was like, that's bullshit. The moon landings too. My mom was a rest in peace, but she was an OG truther in my book. I wish she was alive today. She'd be on my team. But, a lot of parents, a lot of kids I knew, they believed in Santa up until 7, 8 years old, half of them. So it's one of these things where obviously your parents going to eventually go, look, little Billy, Santa's not real. We don't want you going to school getting jumped, right? You're starting 3rd grade. Like, Santa's fucking fake. You got to get over it. You can go cry your eyes out and call me a liar, which is what your parents are doing to you. They're lying to you your whole life for surprise Christmas presents. It's like, I'm against doing that. Don't do that to your kids. Don't lie to your kids like that. Because once you tell them the truth that Santa's fake, I just don't see how they look at you the same again. You're a lie. You lied to them about something that affected their heart, their soul, their Santa's coming, and it's a lie. Like, you lied, Mom. You lied, Dad. Like, fuck you, right? They're going to hold on to that. But it's a similar situation with the globe. The teacher taught you in kindergarten, you live on this ball. No one ever knocked on your door when you were 7 or 8 and go, look, little Billy, the globe's bullshit. No one's doing that. So you hold on to that your whole life. You grow up defending something from a child. You're holding on to this ball. Nobody better take this away from me. I'm going to get really mad. So as soon as you're like, dude, NASA's bullshit, they're like, no, they're not. No, they're not. And like, they don't want to let it go. And I think the sooner you let the ball go, the sooner you'll realize not only how powerful you are, but that you are special. We're in a creation. This is a magical place by God that has been presented to you as a satanistic ball from a big bang, of an explosion, and your life means nothing, little Billy. You're a speck in a infinite specks, and like you're just random, and like, any day the sun could just go out and we could die. Any day a meteor is going to come in and blow you up, and live in fear the rest of your life, Billy. Live in fear, live in indoctrination, and be scared of everything. And, and then at the end of the day, when I actually talk to a grown man about, like, this is usually what I do with the globe. I go, do you think you're spinning right now? Like, do you actually think that you're spinning around the sun? Like, you ever watch a sunset at the beach, bro? Like, you think we're going around the sun? Like, no, nobody will actually admit that's what they think they're feeling, or that's what they think they're doing. So I always start there, because they're like, well, no, but you're not supposed to feel it. No, who told you that? We're going back to kindergarten now. I know the kindergarten rhetoric, bro. You're talking to me. Like, I know the kindergarten rhetoric. Like, you just don't trust your senses, John. Don't trust your senses. You are moving, and you're going 4 motions around an infinite galaxy, and your life means nothing. Don't question that. And it's like, up to a certain point, it's like, well, hold on. in 2015, I'm like, let me just hear some of this stuff out, and all I tried to do was debunk it. That's all. That's usually what I do when there's any rabbit hole that comes up. I'm like, all right, let me debunk this. So, but flat Earth was different, and I don't even like the word flat Earth because there's mountains and hills and valleys.
I'm
But
with you.
it's just it was different for me, man, because it was not more about like, I mean, Eric Dubé was the first guy I saw in 2014, and I wasn't even about like, let me prove him wrong. Like that's kind of how I am. Like, let me debunk that. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. They're really saying we don't live? Like, I had an iPhone when it came out. You couldn't even change the wallpaper. Remember? It was always that blue marble planet. You couldn't even change the background. When you had that
Right.
silver lock, you couldn't even change the background. Well, why would they pick that to be defaulted for years? Well, man, there you go, because here's a picture of Earth from space, and it's real. It's right there. So that's what I did, John, is I just went right into, all right, this should be easily proven. Again, this is 2014-ish. So up to that point in my life, I bet you a lot of people listening to me that think I'm crazy will still agree with this. I've never looked into like proving that we're in space or want to watch something, POV, them driving their buggies up there and doing stuff. I never even saw it. I didn't even care about it. It wasn't even an interest to me. I always saw the little cartoon planets and stuff all over the place, but I never once actually like, hold on. So this is what I did in 2014. I'm like, I just went to NASA's website. It's really simple. I tell everybody to do that. Just go to NASA's website, go to videos, look around, hit play, and tell me you think that's real. And so what I was looking for at the time to just put this to rest so I can move forward with other truths, because I was already doing 9/11 stuff back then and all this other stuff. So I'm like, oh my God, okay, the Earth's not a ball. Okay, let me go to NASA's website. Let me watch a few videos and I'll be on my way, because they're going to, at that time it was 2014. So I'm like, okay, it's 20. I mean, again, rewind back to then. It was very modern times for me. There was 4K TVs and everything. So I'm like, oh my God, it's 2014. They're going to have amazing POV footage of all this stuff that these people are saying is fake, right? Yeah, I go to nasa.gov. Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's .gov? I'm like, oh yeah, they are government. I hate the government. I'm like, well, anyway, so I can look past that. They're the ones that are the truth, though. So I'm like, oh, nasa.gov, and I'm like, they don't even have videos really anywhere. I'm looking for videos. It's hard to find stuff. So then I with the basic, I went to pictures, and I can't find anything that says photograph. All I see is things that say image. I'm like, well, an image can be a composite. Why do they keep saying image? Image produced by so-and-so. Sometimes it was 3 authors. I'm like, 3 people took the same picture at the same time. Like, what do you mean? Why is there credit for 3 people? And why does it keep saying fucking image? Like, where's photograph? That's a legal term, photograph. It doesn't say that on the website. But again, like most of us, I just moved on. I'm like, yeah, whatever. They don't say photograph. All right, let me see some videos. And I couldn't find anything that I needed. Everyone's different. I couldn't find anything I needed as evidence. I thought in 2014, as modern day as it was at that time, it's not like we've been a huge shift since then. It's pretty similar. I'm looking like, why wouldn't there be a fucking GoPro camera on their rocket going into space I'm talking from A to Z? Unedited, undoctored, no cuts, no manipulation, no look at this angle while we're figuring out the other one because it's fake. Like, I'm like, where's like a POV? Where are them just driving around in space? Like, look, space junk's over there. Fuck. Oh, look at satellites are just floating by. Like nothing. I mean, nothing was seen. Like for me, I'm up for days, dude, and no sleep, coffee. I'm like, oh God, this is not a good rabbit hole. I'm gonna get made fun of for this one. I'm like, hold on. Let me find. I can't find nothing. I found nothing. And I was shook to the core because I'm like, dude, I can't find any true evidence of space travel. Nothing. And then I started finding stuff on NASA's YouTube channel that just looked like cartoons. And then I went to Google, of course.
They're so bad.
Huh?
They're so bad. They're so bad. I know you only got an hour, you said, and we were getting.
I got maybe 15 more minutes.
Okay. Well, I
Sorry,
just
I
wanted
can rant, dude. I'm sorry.
I know, and I don't want to interrupt you because you get on such a flow, you know what I mean?
No,
But
you're good. You can always interrupt me. I interrupt
my
everybody. Go ahead.
my grandpa was at one point the top test pilot in the entire Navy, and then he was in charge of all of test flight at the base, and he was a really big wig, and I heard Kay's interview about Kay Griggs, about the whole George Griggs and all the things that they did over wet ops over in Lebanon, and that was just after my grandpa. And I remember hearing stories at the table about what happened at the officers club and what's going on, but to who knows what people had to do to make it to be that high in the military. You know what I mean? Sad but true. We don't know what's really going on behind the scenes.
No.
And I'll say one thing, that I was really shocked that when I was looking at the Challenger, that it blew up 73 seconds after liftoff and not 77 seconds. I just wanted to put
Maybe
that
they
out there.
messed up. They just messed up a little.
I know that they probably were. Somebody probably did get beheaded for that behind the scenes. Who knows?
And that I mean, the Challenger, that whole thing, that's Sam's probably favorite conspiracy of all time, because there's so much to it. Not only for the mind-based trauma control, kind of 9/11, right? Where we all saw it, right? We all saw 9/11 as America. We're like, oh God, let's hold hands, oh God. Of course, it was a sad day. It was just completely different things actually happened in reality. But the Challenger, that's a big one, man, because people can look at it like the bigger the lie, the easier it is to dismiss, in my opinion. It's like, oh yeah, they all faked their death. It's like, no, it's not. It's not about faking their death. They weren't even in the fucking thing to begin with. They sent a rocket up. It blew up on live TV, and they're, oh my God, it's blown up. It's like, yeah, everyone knew that was going to happen that day. And it set the tone for people to not see. This is one thing people don't realize with the Challenger explosion. Not only are the people alive and well today, if you don't believe me,
That's my favorite. That's my favorite part.
Level with me is right here. Go watch Level with me, okay? We went. I had people. I can't say his name, but I had a guy for me. I mean, because I was a little nervous to go up to Yale to go see Judith Resnick myself, because I did a lot of research.
That was my favorite part. That's the one I showed.
It's not that I'm a pussy. It's just I'm smart. So
the way she took off, the way she turned around and took off, it tells the whole story, Sean. It tells the entire story.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it because I know she's skull and bones. Like, me personally, I don't want to fucking go do that shit, man. Like, I don't want to do that. And I asked a bunch of people in the community, like, who actually Justin Harvey. Justin Harvey's a great guy. He's doing a lot in Florida right now for fluoride. He's actually removing fluoride from the water by himself, going to different city council meetings. Anyways, Justin Harvey put me in contact with a dude that's just got balls of steel, man. It's just people like that. I don't give a fuck. I'll do whatever. I'm like, you really want to do this for me? Like, this is like legit. Like, I'll pay you whatever. Like, do you want to do this? You want to go camp out at Yale and wait for Judith Resnick to walk at any? And he's like, I'll do it. I'll camp out for days. I'm like, I'm like, hey, thanks for the hookup, Justin. So as soon as he did it, he hit me up right away. But now this is not in the film. He told me that he was getting calls from unknown numbers the rest of the day into the next day. Random numbers calling him. He would answer. They would be breathing, like, just really weird stuff, right? And like, I'm like, oh God, this is why I didn't want to do it myself. I don't know what they're doing. They're pinging his phone. So she has a lot of power, is my point. And she is the one that, is still kind of in the limelight. She was in a Hollywood movie. It just so happens that a astronaut named Judith Resnick died in 1986, right? Already a weird, unique name. But you have someone who looks just like you that never changed her name, has a prestige job at Yale University, and was invited into a Hollywood movie. I mean, the story writes itself. And then you got to talk about Dick Scobie and with the palsy face, and then the guy that's named Dick Scobie. It's like, They don't even change their names. And I think, and here's the reason why, because people be like, that's too big of a lie. That's too crazy. Really? You think that having a doppelganger with your name and the same age as you can happen even one time in the history of mankind? And even if you think it could it happen 6 times from 6 of the same people on the same flight? All have doppelgangers with the same name? No, that is an improbability. It is an infinite chance that it will never happen. There's no percentage that can even process 0.000 infinity 0.1, right? That could ever happen, but it did happen. And when you see level with me, I mean, you know, we break it down, man. I mean, we got Michael J. Smith in his driveway. You know, I mean, the guy, why are you so nervous, man? We just, like, if you were just a normal guy named Michael J. Smith, you're just a normal dude that has nothing to do with NASA or the Challenger, and someone comes up to you in your own driveway, and like, hey, how you doing? I just had a couple questions for you. It's not me. It's not me. How do you know what I'm gonna say? The dude already said it's not me before he said, there's a rumor on the internet about you look like an astronaut that died in the challenge. He interrupts him and says, it's not me. Well, how do you know what I'm talking about already? You know, because you're guilty. You know, because why are you look so nervous the whole time? And then he's like, you know, if you look at facial recognition, it doesn't look like me. I mean, he kind of does look like me, but he's not me. It's like, who would say that? I can't wake someone up. I like, the writing's on the wall, and I can't make you read it, you know? So it's just, the proof's there, man. Like, why would they have to blow up a Challenger? Like, why do they need to do that? That's what I hear. Like, why would they lie about a Challenger explosion? It's like, again, trauma-based mind control. Not only that, think about it. Since the 80s, when this happened, was it 1986, I believe, that set the tone for people like us, normal humans, normal civilians, that go, I don't even want to go up there anymore. Think about that. They didn't, because this is why they had this teacher. Oh, well, let's bring a random teacher on the flight, right? And then she dies. And if you hear, I put it in the film, her speech before she went up there was, you know, it's not like it's going to blow up or anything. It's like, why would you say that? Why would you say that right before you go on, that the technology's gotten better and it's not going to blow up or anything? It's like, yeah, of course it's going to blow up. You already know it's going to blow up, and you're getting paid a lot of money. Also, people forget, they didn't know YouTube was going to be invented back then, guys. They had no idea. In 1986, none of the astronauts that took that deal, I look at it as like a witness protection type program. All you got to do is move over a couple states, and no one, like, they're not that famous where people are like, wait, aren't you Dick Scobie, the astronaut? Like, no, you hang tight, you take your money for 5 years that you know, whatever they give you, you could probably live off that for 20 years, the amount of money that NASA probably gave them. And within, you know, maybe they want to go back in the working class. You move states. No one's going to know who you are. You're not famous, dude. You're not Michael Jordan. Like, they don't know who you are. You're just in some random place, and you're, you know, the problem is that people don't realize, again, that back then they didn't know that YouTube was going to be invented, and we're all going to be watching things and going, wait a minute, what's going on here? And hitting the share button and commenting and interacting with one another in groups. And none of that was known back then in the 80s. They thought that, pretend we can go back to the 80s, and you're a part of this, right? And you're like, well, I just got to move states and I'm good. Would you ever think that day that, man, in the future, they're going to know? It's like, no, because at that time, nothing would make you think that this would be outed in the future. Like, how? Like, everything was accounted for. The news said they died. They have memorials. People moved on with it. And then they don't really talk about it anymore. It's not like every public school in America is being taught the Challenger explosion. That's not the case, man. And why do you think that they rolled the TVs out in America that day? They rolled them out so everyone can see this rocket blowing up, and everyone can be sad and, oh my God, we love NASA, and oh my God, I feel so bad. And also, again, oh my God, I don't want to go up there. That really made people, I talked to a lot of people about that were alive back then, and they're like, that's the number one thing they thought was, I don't ever want to do what that teacher did and just go on there. I mean, because I could die. And like, nobody ever had an interest in space travel. And I think that's why they did it, because I think up to the 86 Challenger, everybody wanted to go up there. The moon landing was only 20 years ago or less, 15 years ago. So it's like everybody's like, I want to go up there. I want to see all this stuff that you're faking. So it becomes a problem, man.
In my opinion, the Challenger is just another rebranding of the Hindenburg. Like
Oh yeah,
it's
good
just it's
point.
just the same. It's just the same thing that they always do: rebrand civilizations, rebrand flood stories, rebrand this, rebrand that, and then they give it to us again in a different way.
Yeah, the Hindenburg's a great
77,
example because that's the whole reason why they got rid of airships to begin with. I mean,
right?
but I really want to give you my opinion. It's only going to take a minute on why the real reason why they wanted to get rid of airships.
Yeah, I already know. Yeah, let's hear
Do
it.
What's your opinion? Why? I just want to hear just from your mind. Like, why do you think they wanted to can them forever? Meaning, the youth today, the youth never even heard of them. Why?
But well, because the more we know, the more dangerous we are, right?
Yeah,
The
but it's just a
more
piece of technology. We all know about the Wright brothers inventing the airplane. Like they have these stories of things. Why do you think they just can't mention even airships in our history books where it's like you're learning about the Wright brothers? I mean, that's kind of a bullshit story too, but you're learning about the Wright brothers and the invention of airplanes. Why do they withhold how we traveled in the sky before airplanes? Like, I'll just give you my opinion, man. And the reason being is like, especially if you saw Level with me, you know my opinion on more land. They're hiding land. They're hiding continents. For all I know, there's 1,000 continents on this earth, and we know about 7. Reason being, the airship is really I mean, I've looked at, oh man, I've done so much research on this. Nothing. There's no piece of technology that can, besides a UFO, a man-made UFO or something, but there's no piece of technology that can go travel past Antarctica in those conditions and then get to warm, like Admiral Byrd said, there's warmer temperatures where he went. When he went to Antarctica to explore in the 50s, he came back on live TV and said, there's another continent over there the size of North America that no one's ever seen with warm temperatures and everything. Like, and they, of course they killed him right away and then they started NASA. So it's like hush, hush. But this is why the treaty even started. The Antarctic Treaty is we can go to Antarctica for $30,000 for a couple days or a week, and it's a guided tour. You're secluded in this location. They actually tell you you can't pass this little. They put little flags down. You can't go past there for your own safety. Don't do it. But there's people watching too, so you can't just go over like, hey, we'll be back in a few years. Like we're just gonna go explore over there. No, you can't. You can't do that. You can go there, but you can't go explore freely. It's in the treaty. But the airship is safe enough to go travel there. And I think that Admiral Byrd they were using the airships back then. So I think that's one of the main reasons why they did not want airships. This is why we don't have them today. And we can't get them back, John. That's the problem. If me and you, if just pretend we're millionaires. Hey, John, let's make our own airship. Do you know like what we really need to get that done? Helium. Who owns 99% of the helium in the whole world? NASA. NASA owns 99% of helium. That 1% is distributed throughout the world to these party balloon stores and a couple other type of industries. And that's it. That's 1% split. NASA owns 99% of helium. We can't have it. So we couldn't, meaning, John, we couldn't make an airship. Well, we'd be fucked. There's not enough helium to go around anymore. NASA, but I mean, obviously they need it for their satelloons. They put their satellites on huge balloons that can carry 2 football fields at a time. So they need it for that. They need it, but they compartmentalize it. They don't want us to have access to helium. And because we could attach it, and we have crafts that could attach to the ether. You mentioned the periodic table earlier. Did you know that the periodic table? I think I did put an old order. The periodic table.
You did, and I was looking for that, and they're like shadow banning that information pretty
Of course
good
they are,
on
bro.
the
You know how hard it was for me to find the original prints of all this shit?
yeah.
It's hard.
And I know
Trust
it's
me,
hard.
trust me, bro. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Ether was on every periodic table through the late 1800s. Every periodic table had ether. And they, with Einstein and all this Big Bang shit, with his buddy George Lemaitre, who started the Big Bang Theory in the 20s, this fake ass priest. So when people look at me and go, "You don't believe in the Big Bang Theory? What are you, religious?" I'm like, "I'm religious. First of all, a priest invented that. So you're believing a religious man's word that we exploded from nothing. So if anything, that sounds like a religion that you believe because a religious man created the idea to begin with. So what are you talking about? That makes no sense. I have to be religious to not believe in a Big Bang when the Big Bang was invented by a religious man, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that's why they did that. That's why they had a priest say we came from a Big Bang. So because people back then in the 20s were, if you're a flat earther, you're just considered a religious zealot. They're just religious people. But look, religious people, a priest, one of your own, he said it comes from a Big Bang. So they were trying to help, indoctrinate even the religious people because, a holy priest said this is what it's all bullshit, man.
The Jesuits are like the CIA for the Vatican, right? Like, I mean, they're all pieces, they're all doing their part for the machine, which is all just trust fund dork fuckery. All these countries, I believe, don't even really exist, at the very top. It's just all these ancient families that have these castles and they pass them down, and they're the ones controlling everything, and we have governments that make us think that they're fighting and going to war, but these trust fund dorks are just sacrificing the herd, a little bit at a time. They have cullings here, they have cullings there, and that helps them get to their Georgia Guidestone number of 500 million,
the George Guidestones blew up, right?
Yeah, and they blew up exactly 42 years after they're being built, which the opposite of 77, the female version is 42, Ishtar.
And I'm gonna throw you a curveball here that you might not know about the Guidestones. Did you know? I think it's the main reason why they blew them up. It could be led to numerology, so I'm not gonna escape that route.
George Bush's birthday.
Nah, the most important part of the Georgia Guidestones it's not a theory that the stars and the sun and the moon are.
Oh yes, Polaris doesn't move in that little spot; it stays right there. So there's a little spot.
They put a hole in the Georgia Guidestones when it was built. Okay, so for 45, however many years, I forgot, but for all these years that it was sitting there, that hole, anyone could go up to the Georgia Guidestones, look in that hole, and at all times, for all the history of those Guidestones sitting there, Polaris was always in that hole. It never moves. Now,
and I should have added that part.
It should have moved like at least. I mean, if you believe in a beehive, heliocentric, everything's going crazy, that should have been out many degrees within 10 years. I mean, just not in the hole at all anymore. Period. But up to the day it was blown up, and then, by the way, they got a construction crew within a few hours to clean it up. No questions asked. No investigation. Done. Just it's a terrorist blew it up. No, you guys blew that shit up on purpose. But the information about the North Star that doesn't move, that proves it. It's not even like, well, it's a conspiracy, man. No, it proves that the stars are fixed and they're rotating around our heads, and the North Star never moves. I think the North Star is the most important part of where we live. I think the North, even though I always talk about the South, I always talk about past Antarctica, that's probably where the giants are, in my opinion. They all went somewhere else, man. They're not just all gone, bro. Like, there's no way, bro. But this is my
There's
opinion.
probably a lot underneath in these big cavern systems that they have under. I mean, you could drive a semi from Kansas City to Los Angeles and never see daylight. You know what I mean? And people think that's crazy.
True, but
that's a fact.
That is a fact. As much as I talk about all the land they're hiding in the South, and I think the North is the most important part of everything in terms of humanity, man. Do you know that there's the magic mountain over there, right? Like, all ancient maps have 4 continents where the North Pole is. Like, now if you go to Google Earth, it's just an ocean. There's nothing there, right? But even 20, 30 years ago, even when I was in school, the North Pole was something. It's not a Mandela effect. The North Pole was, at least at minimum, when I was a kid, it was ice. It was like like a Antarctica, like a plateau of ice or something. Even the globes from back in the day, if you like go to eBay and find an ancient globe from like the 70s or 80s, Antarctica, I mean, I'm sorry, the North Pole has, you know, whatever you want to call it, deserts of ice, deserts of snow. But now it's just an ocean. But if you go farther back, there's 4 continents. There's literal 4 land masses in the north. But in the center of the north, right below the North Pole, right below Polaris that never moves, right underneath it, and Admiral Byrd mentioned this in his diary. Okay? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of symbology with that. But I
Oh
want to
yeah.
tell you the most symbolic part of this. Who, and this is the name of the mountain. Okay, I know some people call it Mount Meru. That's more of a modern terminology for that. I think that was done on purpose. But the original term for that mountain in the north, that's the most important thing God ever made, apparently. That's why we can't go there either, by the way. We're restricted from going there. I think that's something that we should all figure out. How the hell do we get there and record it? But
Hell yeah.
do you know what the name of that mountain always was back in the day?
Is it?
Who's in control of the world technically in terms of corporation names?
Oh,
Who's the
Black
top?
Rock. Black
It's
Rock.
called Black Rock. That's what the mountain's always been called. You can look this up. It's called Black Rock. Black Rock, the Black Rock Mountain, that is the most powerful. Like, if we all can snap our fingers right now and just appear in the north, we're right under Polaris. We're right underneath it in the very north of the north of the north. I guarantee you see something that you'd probably vomit. There's probably something there that's so angelic and godly and out of sight. Like, what is this? And I think that's where the Aurora Borealis comes from. This whole changing, the green, all these waves in the sky, because the sky is the ocean. It's the ocean above. But from the north perspective, you go to like Norway, you can see the Aurora Borealis, the green and purple, all this crazy water stuff it looks like in the sky. I don't know. I don't even know what Globers think that is, to be honest with you. But for me, it's something magical coming from this mountain. And who knows, man? There's been ancient talk about a black sun. Everyone wants to act like that's evil. Oh, the black sun's evil. Oh, you're this. Like they always talk shit about my logo. Like, oh, you have the black sun. You're Satan. Shut the fuck up. Look at our ancient culture. Look at our ancient history books. They all talk about it. Why? Because according to the ancients, there's a projection. Our sun, moon, and stars are being projected into the sky from the north, and everything's going around Polaris. It's a projection of everything. So many people have talked about this in the past, and I think that's why they divert to act like a black sun's evil. It's not evil. It might be a fact. Why can't we go there and check for ourselves? If there's something there, like Admiral Byrd, whether you believe in his diary or not that was leaked, he mentions this. He also mentions giants over there. He mentions so many things that are relevant to today, of all these rumors and rabbit holes. I think the north is the key, man. The north, if millions of us marched north, if we just took a compass and just went north until we're there. Again, we're not allowed to go there. I get it. But if we came in the masses, right? Front line might be fucked, but we'll get there. I literally, that's the key to everything to me. That is like, wow, have we been lied to about our cosmology? And why have they hid this from us? Why have they buried the land masses that surround there? Even the Wizard of Oz has this. Again, it's symbolism in movies and all this stuff, but there's so much evidence that there's land, not only land there, but something just so magical that the biggest corporation, these fucking, I'll say what they are, they're Jews, that BlackRock, right, that run everything. They own everything. They own the media. They
the
own
black cube of Saturn. The black cube of Saturn. And
there you go.
that's what they got in Mecca. That's what they got on top of Trump Tower. You know
Dude,
what I mean?
BlackRock is so powerful. This corporation, it's a devil agency, in my opinion. It's Satan's agency, and they bought everything. And it's because they want that name to represent the darkness that they represent. They don't want people to hear the word Black Rock and think of a magical mountain in the north. That's ludicrous. Hibbeler, you're crazy. Yeah, okay, man. Trust me, one day humanity is going to know.
Rebrand everything. They're rebranding. They rebrand everything just to get us confused. It's as above, so below. Everything's the opposite, pretty much.
It's sad, man, because it's true. I really do feel like almost everything that we've been taught about history, about science, it's the literal opposite. We are not like America wasn't founded then. Like, think about the buildings, the old world buildings that you look on, even on their website, it'll say founded in 1892. Why does it say founded? Who built this? Wait. Who built this though? Who constructed this beautiful thing? No, they don't know. Or they'll just Wikipedia will just make up a story of some guy and his son. They just built it with donkeys and slaves, and then there's no questions asked. No, well, that must be the legit story. Or they don't know. It was found. Kind of that's true though. You think about it.
The thing that drives me the most crazy was listening to you and Johnny go back and forth. And look, I love Johnny Woodard, but look, I've been in construction my entire life, and just the foundations, just the concrete foundations alone that they have around that big pool, that big at the White City, the dredging that would be involved in all of that. Like, it is such a monumental undertaking for them to make it seem like they built just the foundations alone. Forget the buildings. And to, like your friend said about the planning, there'd be so much planning in that foundation building, but the concrete foundations alone to hold that pool, it's unbelievable. And that people think that that's a temporary thing going on there is really something crazy. I mean, it's a fairy tale upon a fairy tale upon a fairy tale.
I mean, think maybe it's fairs were the old downtown facility. I mean, just the old cities, man. Like, how beautiful. They
absolutely.
That's where the giants lived. I mean, all these people, even biblical people, they're like, yeah, giants were real. It's like, where do you think they lived?
You'll want to hear that. You'll want to hear this one. I was watching something about the Mormon temple, and there was these Native Americans going back and forth, right? And one of them was arguing with another guy. He's like, "Oh, you just believe the indoctrination." He's like, "Our ancestors told us stories about how that castle was here when we got here."
Yep.
Right. So you're talking the Native Americans are saying that it was standing there when they got there, and they're even arguing about the narrative.
Oh man, believe Rockefeller though. He said that him and his slaves did it in a couple years, dude. Whatever. Just it's easier to believe these lies because there's no effort. You don't have any effort. You just go, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then Japan will come out and say, "Oh, we found 7,000 more islands, double the amount of islands that we had before." And people are just like, "Wow, that's crazy. How could that happen?" And that's to make you feel, that's to break you. That's to see how dumb you are, to see if you're going to keep believing everything that they put out. I literally think
it's kind of disclosure too, because there probably is 7,000 more continents. It's like, you got to tell them, you got to tell the people, because
a little revelation of method there. Yeah.
They worship Saturn, and Satan and all this stuff is all linked together. And they have to tell you revelation and method, like you said. They have to tell us the truth. They have to, in one way or another. So even a little article like, they found 7,000 new islands. It's like, wait a minute, 7,000. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, can we
more
see
islands than they even had?
Yeah. Well, man, again, yeah, it's a good point, man. It's a good point.
They found more islands than they actually had. It was heavier on the 7,000 side that they found.
No, it's a good point. I look at that. Once I heard that article come out, I'm like, yeah, it's revelation and method. Maybe there's 7,000 continents and we know about 7 of them. So, I mean, the Truman Show in a sense is real, but we're not in a snow globe. So anyone listening to me thinking flat earth is crazy, I get it. You probably went down the Mark Sargent, behind the curve Netflix special mockumentary. So yeah, I get that flat earth is stupid if that's what you think, but no, I that's why I make films, guys. Go to my website and check out some of my films, because we don't live in a snow globe like where a guy
I
gets
had to
mad and shakes
apologize.
it or something. Like no, I think it's a plane that possibly is infinite. Obviously, it has to be speculation. But for the books, so many books I've read from the 1800s where they're getting lost by sea and they find a new continent, and these guys are tall people, and like there's ancient civilizations all over the place. And I don't think it's in our known world. I think that there's many of these little ponds all over the place. And think about it like Star Wars. Maybe that's true. Maybe Star Wars is real. You just got to take Hollywood going up, take that out of it. It's just going that way and going that way.
That's what I believe.
There's more things going on, man. And until we're granted access to fully explore the South and fully explore the North, everything I just said is speculation. But again, when you have speculation with receipts, speculation with Old Testaments, old eyewitness testimony, firsthand accounts from the 18 books from the Iron Republic, one of the best books, because what kind of like this guy's talking about getting lost. He saw new stars in the sky. He doesn't know what's going on. He's greeted by giants. There's a new continent. They know about New York, where he's from, but he's never heard of them. And it's like it wasn't illegal back then. There wasn't a treaty that they couldn't go over there. So the people did. Some people did end up going over there, and they found more land and more people and more. It's like it makes sense that if it was just a big theory of a conspiracy, then that book would be in all the libraries. Why would they cover that up? That sounds like a great fantasy, right? If it was just fantasy, there's more land and more continents and more. Why wouldn't there be like movies and books and famous books about it? It's like, no, they bury these things. They don't want people to know about it. They don't teach you about Admiral Byrd going over there in school. Like, that's a huge revelation. The guy said he found a continent the size of North America no one's ever seen. But no one's ever heard of this guy or this story. Oh, they might have heard of Admiral Byrd, but let's go back to 2014 and reverse it. No one's heard of Admiral Byrd. No one knows who that guy is. It just started coming about now. So we're in a shift of consciousness, John, and the truth is here. Not everybody's going to get it. But we're all trying to figure it out. Not like I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. I make films trying to just bring you to a door. And now it's when the film's over, you can walk through. You're not walking through the door during the film, but you're going to be like, the whole time. It's up to you to continue the research, continue walking through that door. I just brought, like, what do they say? You could bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's true. I can't do that. But, I'm definitely going to show you a lot of horses drinking water. That's for sure, man, because there's a lot of lies out there. So before I get off, if you don't mind, just a quick plug.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Well, in my line of work, especially with the youth, the truth is not the most important thing to me is the youth, the children, and the future of the children, because we're either leaving them to a bloodbath, or we're going to wake everybody up and save our world. If we save our world, they need to know the truth. But you can't keep going to Barnes and Nobles and getting them Disney books, right? Like, I get even truther parents, even parents that are awake and aware and not non-jabbed and no mask. It's still hard to do that. So I want to shout out my wife, Victoria. Go to hibbelerproductions.com right now. We have I know my green screen's on, but we have new books for children. And it's just I'll give you a little previews of some of them. I don't want to give you the whole book and everything, but they're very, very good. They're very educational. They're very, I call them like Disney-esque in a sense of stories, right? From different perspectives. And like, these are things that I already know parents that have these at the moment. We gave them out, in the beginning. These just came out. So that's why I'm like, let me plug them real quick. It's the first show I'm plugging them. I can't wait to plug them on other shows.
I'm going to order some right now.
I appreciate you, man. You can go to my website right here, or you can go to festories.com, festories.com. But these are amazing books, a lot of giants involved, griffins, a lot of it's fantasy, a lot of it's magical stuff, but it's really good for children. A lot of life lessons in these. My wife did a brilliant job. This is especially for little girls. This one, for any little girl out there, the passion flower. I mean, this story is more about karma and being nice to people and all this stuff. So this isn't really like a conspiracy type of story, this one. But a lot of them, again, man, what we're trying to touch on, she's got a couple new ones coming out. Mean Reptilian Queen. That's going to be a good one because she put a lot of truth into that. But it's you call it rated PG for children. You can't just talk about, like the crazy shit that we know, John, because kids will get scared, right? So she does a really good job of making it child, for children, but doing it, it's like, how do you teach your children the truth? It's hard. It might be hard for some parents. You don't want to scare them. You don't want to talk about 5G towers. It's like, but this is a way to introduce children to the world we live in, whether you're a flat earther or not. These books are great. If you don't think the earth is flat and you don't think that they're hiding land and everything, then you could take this book of, exploring the second circle of Earth. You could just look at that as fantasy, whatever. I mean, it's better than Disney, trust me. And again, a lot of life lessons in these books, and I highly recommend them. Obviously, these are new. Go to hibbelerproductions.com to see more information or see my films. Or if you just want the books, go to festories.com. But I appreciate the plug opportunity, man. I'm just so glad my wife's doing this because, with my line of work and making films, I'm trying to wake up, like Bryce Mitchell always tells me, I'm trying to activate the assassins to the truth because I have to do it from a grown-up perspective. I no offense to the kids. This is why I love this, that she's doing this, because I really can't, like, that's not my field. My field's more PG-13, rated R. Like, I'm trying to wake up the grown men that have balls in the world, or the grown.
Yeah, I'm more blunt force trauma, like for real. I'm just blunt force trauma straight up. Like, and if you don't like it, like, okay, then we're probably not gonna have much conversation.
That's how I am. That's how I am, John. And that's why I make films the way I do. It's some of my films are rated R in terms of language, I guess, but outside of some language, because people go, why'd you let him swear in this? It ruined it for me. I'm like, we're in a war. And someone saying the F word in a documentary ruined the documentary for you? Don't watch my work then, dude. Like, I'm trying to activate the people that can actually physically help change the world. Nobody that can help physically change the world and has that in them, that assassin, is going to care about fuck in a film. It's an expression of the moment of what they were feeling. Who am I as a director to be like, can you say that again, man? Just don't swear. I would never say that to anyone. A free speech, just say whatever the fuck you want to say. If someone's going to be offended by it, that's why I have a website. I usually have clean versions of almost everything I've made because I got complaints like, oh, there's bad words in it. If you're trying to show your 10-year-old this, I'm not the guy. Well, maybe 10-year-old. I liked rap music at 10 years old, so I guess. But my point is, if you're trying to show your 5-year-old, the old world or the Earth's flat or something, maybe I'm not the director for you. I'm not making kid-friendly stuff, and this is why my wife just took that baton and fucking. Whew. So these books, I mean, trust me, man. I've read these books. These are. This is why I just wish these were in all major bookstores. And shout out to Dr. Narcolongo. Actually, I got to hit him up soon because he actually owns or co-owner a big bookstore in Florida, in Miami. And I told him about these not too long ago. And he's like, when they're out, give them to me. I'm putting them in the front fucking section. He goes, I want all the kids, because kids go in there. They go right to the kids section. There's just regular stuff, I'm sure. But it's time, man. It's time. The youth is the most important thing. I wish I can get on board. Maybe one day I'll like get a cartoon made, or I don't know, man. It's just
you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. I know you will. You'll figure out like
wake up the adults, man. That's all, And I'm glad
it'll be like PG-11. It'll be like PG-11. That'll be close enough.
I'm gonna make a new logo for the bottom of the films, like PG-11. They're like, does that say PG-11? Thanks, John. I like it. I might do that. PG-11. Yeah, no, man. You can understand, John. I don't want to censor people, man. I like, look, if you have, I mean, we all get into these talks or these conversations, and we just rant and we. Have emotion, and we're like, those motherfuckers, we get mad. I'm not going to bleep that. And hey, can you say that again? I just let people go. If it just so happens they don't swear, cool. I'm not going to be like, hey, can you swear for me? I'm filming grown men and grown women in the middle of one of the biggest psyops, whether it's the old world or NASA or They're mad.
It's
They're angry. They're
it's
pissed.
ongoing all the time. It's everything, and you've done so much because guys like you and Sam are the reason that I now have a podcast. For a couple years now, and I wrote a book, and I've
Keep
made
going.
discoveries. Which now people who have read my book are sending me things every day that they're seeing, and it's just, and that's how, like you
I
said,
love it.
one person makes a difference with one person who makes a difference with one person who is you've now at some point, Hibbler, you're changing the world. So thanks so much, man, for coming on. I appreciate
And the
you
kids. Now
and
the kids know what airships are. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah, I love
we
that.
have to be the. I'm not even just about my wife. It's like we have to be the ones to do this. We have to do it because even if you send your kids to public school, they don't know what airships are. They need to know what airships are. It's going to help their mind. Listen, we're all born with emotions. We get hungry, we get thirsty as we get older through adolescence. What happens? We get horny. These are natural states of the human being. But the one thing that they took away from you as a child, and most adults still don't have that, is exploration, exploring. We are all born with that in our brain until we're shoved a fucking ball in our face where there's nothing to explore anymore. And that's why I'll leave you guys with this. My favorite line of Truman Show, my favorite part of that movie, there's a lot of them, okay? But it's when he's in school as a kid, it's a flashback. And he raises his hand and goes, when I get older, I want to be an explorer like the great Magellan. And the teacher pulls down the globe map and says, oh, you're too late. There's nothing left to explore. And to me, that is the most important part of that film because it's so true. We're all born with that. We want to explore, we want more, but we're taught a false history through Rockefeller. And you guys know who prints the books, right? For everyone in America, especially America. But you know who prints our school books for years now is Ghislaine Maxwell's husband or father. Sorry, one or the other. So it's all tied in. This is a cabal that has everyone in it until you can get out. You break out of the matrix, you can wake up. But it's about the kids though, man. For me, like right now, it's like, what can I do? It's not my, like at the moment, I don't know what I can do for the children, but I'm glad my wife's on this and I hope more people can come up with options for the kids because it's about them, dude. Like they need to know what's going on right now. Try to have a debate with a kid nowadays that are publicly schooled, indoctrinated. It's hard. Like they're like, no, yeah. Like they think they know it. They're on TikTok. Like it's a whole
Homeschool's picking up steam.
yeah.
My children are homeschooled, so homeschool is picking up steam. I know that for a fact, even in my area.
I'm glad, man. I honestly think that nobody needs to go to school. If you could teach your child how to read, how to write, and basic math. When's the last, John? I'm just gonna ask you. When's the last time you used algebra for your personal self?
Never.
Yeah.
No hard.
I mean, again, and someone could hear me and go, "No bullshit." But yeah, if you're an architect, if you're in a certain trade, sure. But if you have a child and teaching them all this advanced shit that they're never going to use, I think it's a waste of their brain. Teach them other things that are more important. Now, if they grow older and they want to become an architect or they want to become something that really needs that type of math, okay, teach them or tell them to go to trade school and learn it from scratch. Learn it right away. You can learn it at 15 years old. The first time you learn algebra could be 15. It could be 25. That doesn't fucking matter. Whatever you want to do with your life, if you need that type of math, go learn it. Go ahead. You could start today in your 40s or something. That's fine. But as a child, it's a waste of time. There's so much shit they teach these children. It is a waste of time. And I think it's on purpose because you're cramming their brain that's growing with shit they don't need. They don't need to learn half the stuff they're learning. And then most of it's lies anyways. So yeah, man, I don't know. I revert back to the youth is the most important thing to be awakened right now, opposed to the grown men and women that want to fight. Because we're in a war, as you know. I think a lot of it's spiritual. And I think that's why the awakening's here and people like us are continuing. We're never going to stop growing. Like the people that wake up, John, like we're not going to like stop. Like, it's not like tomorrow there's no more people waking up. No, there's thousands tomorrow waking up and thousands more the next day. The difference is no one's going back to being like accepting lies and the news and bullshit. So you see this shift happening. Yeah, it might be a little slow, but eventually we're going to live in a time where the truth is common. And we're gonna have a world. I look at it as like heaven on earth. It's coming, and I think that this war's ending. We're at the tail end of it. They're gonna be throwing all their cards at the table, whether it be alien invasion, this, that, and the other, wildfires that just tear apart stone houses. But that it like eventually we're gonna live in a time where we will both be alive for this, John. That the truth is gonna be the majority, and the world that we live in, we will be happy with. I think it's just we're right at the end of it all, and it's gonna get fucking weird. I think it's already weird. Obviously, it's not gonna stop being weird for a while. But I think eventually, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think eventually it's gonna be a really, really good world to live in, and I think that the evil is on its way out because nothing lasts forever.
I agree with you. I'm optimistic, but there's like a part of me that, is always thinking about these resets that these guys do, and, it's like the one guy, CIA guy that was on Sam's show that was talking about the Getty. It says it right there at the entrance of the Getty. When they rise up against us, we will reset them again. So
Yeah.
it's
Look, man,
really interesting to think about.
I'm optimistic too, but I look at it like this.
I'm ready to go to war. That's all I know.
For sure. But just because they have a wet dream about resetting us or doing something or controlling it, controlling the world and our minds and everything, doesn't mean it's going to come true.
Right.
We can see the writing. We can see their writing on the wall. It looks very bad. It looks like some shit's going to go down and we're all fucked. And like, you could think that way, but in reality, it's their wet dream. It's the dream of them doing X, Y, or Z. Doesn't mean it has to happen or that it's going to happen. I think the quicker we wake up, the quicker that we're all on board. When some shit hits the fan in your own city, you know what it is. Like, you already know. You can educate people. That's why this is the only reason why I make films, is because I know with the collective amounts of views I've gotten from all my stuff, the millions and millions and millions of people have seen it. So that's a big impact. I'm just one person. I think everybody needs to find their niche and attach it to truth and teach and raise awareness. Without awareness being raised, we're all fucked. I'll admit that. We have to raise awareness. We have to stop feeling uncomfortable by having these conversations with people that might get offended, might be triggered. I don't give a fuck. We're way past that point. If it was 2015, I might have cared about your feelings. I don't care about feelings anymore because, again, like I said earlier, and I'll leave you with this because I do got to go. It's the person that's still wearing the mask right now. They're the problem with the world. It's not even the government. It's not even the Jews. It's the person that won't wake up and snap out of it. You need to. I'm done. I feel like I'm done with them. I've tried my hardest with these people. Maybe someone else knows how to do it, but you gotta fucking, because they're holding back everyone waking up. Everyone should be awake. It's been going on for 10 years. This grand awakening, technically since 9/11. So a while. I mean, they literally they brought down 7 buildings in one day, and most people know about 2. But the point is like it's controlled demolition. It's all this stuff. Yeah, it's right there in front of your face, and still people are like, well, fucking Bin Laden. Like I can't believe there's this many people in the world that think a guy in a cave did this. So it's just sad, man. It's sad, but I think that we are coming. This is the most awakened I think our world has ever been, ever. So I think that we're gonna get there, man. Just stay optimistic, man, because that energy, that consciousness is more important than you think. So we need to stay optimistic. No fear mongering. I fucking hate people that do that. We're all gonna die. They're gonna do this to us. They're gonna do this to us. And no, like let's not say that out loud, because then to me, God's just going to go, all right, everybody's saying it, I'll allow it. But if everybody's saying, hey, heaven on earth is coming soon. Hey, the evil's on its way out. Hey, we can win this. Well, consciousness is that strong to me that we actually have the power to make it so we live in a good world or we live in a fucked up one. And I think that we're on the verge of we can live in a good one. It starts with people like us, man. Just keep doing your thing, John. I know we've been trying to do this for a long time. I'm glad we finally got it done, brother.
Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Everyone, go buy one of Hibbeler's books right now, just like me, and well,
Oh,
give them
thank
to
you.
give
I'll
them
tell
to
my
your
wife
kids to
we got the first sale.
give them to
No,
your kids to read.
it's we made them as cheap as possible as we can to make nothing on them because it's not about profit. It's just how can we make books for children and get them out there. This is really the only way to do it. If there's a better way, please let me know. But this is how we do it. And the stories themselves are just amazing, man. Like she did such a good job on the poetry of it all, on the vision of it all. It's not just lazy shit thrown together. Like she did a really good job. I'm really proud of her. So I appreciate you, John. I appreciate your audience. And yeah, hey, if you're watching this, share this video. Share this podcast. Let's get John's podcast out there. And, he's back now. So I will come do the show again in the near future, my friend.
Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate it. You have a good one, man.
You too,
Take
man.
care,
God
brother.
bless. And
God
let's
bless.
win this war.
We will.
All right, brother.
Take care. All right. Well, that was Sean, and he's man, he's definitely hard to get a word in with when he starts get going, right? And you definitely don't want to interrupt him when he's on fire. He's go watch Level, go watch Next Level, go watch Level with Me. All great films. That all they are. All he does is just show you the inconsistencies and the facts of what NASA is lying about, what they tell you, where the lie is, how they lie using green screens and harnesses and all sorts of things. I mean, it shows you all of the evidence that you need to see. Same thing with Old World Order. You get to see, all of the methods of buildings that are all over the world that are the same, that are clearly some sort of a civilization that was worldwide. A worldwide building method, a worldwide star forts all over in every single continent. So it's very interesting, when you start going down the rabbit hole, how interesting the world really is, right? It is way, way more interesting than these trust fund dorks want you to know. So I got to get out of here. I got to get up in about 4 hours to teach boxing class because, like Sean said, it's, very important to, be one of the people that can make change, right? And I believe that in every aspect, mental, spiritual, intellectual, physical, and man, what a deep, deep subject all of this can be, right? Spiritual war, where we live, the future for our children. That's something I think about every single day. What are our kids going to grow up in? And I just want to do everything I can to make sure that they grow up in a world better than the one we grew up in. So, real quick, I'll plug my own book. Go buy 77 Trust Fund Dork Avenue on Amazon. And yeah, stay the course. Have a good one. Take care.